Welcome to ISINMT, Information Management Module 2, Information Systems Planning Module, Cost-Benefit Analysis. One of the problems of CBA is that the computation of many components of benefits and costs is intuitively obvious, but there are others for which intuition fails to suggest methods of measurement. Therefore, some basic principles are needed as a guide. In order to reach a conclusion as to the desirability of a project, all aspects of the project, positive and negative, must be expressed in terms of a common unit. That is, there must be a bottom line. The most convenient common unit is money. This means that all benefits and cost of a project should be measured in terms of their equivalent money value. A program may provide benefits which are not directly expressed in terms of dollars, but there is some amount of money the recipients of the benefits would consider just as good as the project's benefits. For example, a project may provide for the elderly in an area a free monthly visit to a doctor. The value of that benefit to an elderly recipient is the minimum amount of money that the recipient would take instead of the medical care. This could be less than the market value of the medical care provided. It is assumed that more esoteric benefits, such as from preserving open space or historic sites, have a finite equivalent money value to the public. Let's talk about risks. Risk can be defined as the uncertainty regarding a loss. Losses such as auto damage due to an accident or negligence regarding your property can give rise to a liability risk. The loss involved with these risks, the lessening or disappearance of value. Risk can be referred to like the chances of having unexpected or negative outcome. Any action or activity that leads to loss of any type can be termed as a risk. There are different types of risk that a firm might face and needs to overcome. Widely, risk can be classified into three types. We have business risk, non-business risk, and financial risk. So we have here the different types of risk. So we're going to talk first about business risk. So this type of risks are taken by business enterprises themselves in order to maximize shareholder value and profits. As for example, companies undertake high-cost risk in marketing to launch a new product in order to gain higher sales. Business risk is the exposure a company or organization has to factors that will lower its profits or lead it to fail. Anything that threatens a company's ability to achieve its financial goal is considered a business risk. There are many factors that can converge to create business risk. Sometimes it is a company's top leadership or management that creates situations where a business may be exposed to a greater degree of risk. However, sometimes the cause of risk is external to a company. Because of this, it is impossible for a company to completely shelter itself from risk. However, there are ways to mitigate the overall risk associated with operating a business. Most companies accomplish this through adopting a risk management strategy. Non-business risk. These types of risk are not under the control of firms. Risks that arise out of political and economic imbalances can be termed as non-business risk. This refers to risks that do not arise from the direct business of the organization. Non-business risks are typically outside the control of the organization but may impact on the organization. For example, the risk of wider economic changes affecting the rate of interest on long-term sources of finance. Non-business risk is a term normally found in risk and control and financial management. Financial risk. Financial risk, as the term suggests, is the risk that involves financial loss to firms. Financial risk generally arises due to instability and losses in the financial market caused by movement in stock prices, currencies, interest rates, and more. Financial risk is the possibility of losing money on an investment or business venture. Some more common and distinct financial risks include credit risk, liquidity risk, and operational risk. Financial risk is a type of danger that can result in the loss of capital interested parties. For governments, this can mean they are unable to control monetary policy and default on bonds or other debt issues. Corporations also face the possibility of default on debt they undertake, but may also experience failure in an undertaking that causes a financial burden on the business. So these are the different examples of our financial risk. Figure depicts the different financial risks involved and the different sub-risks under the specific risks. The sub-risk will be assigned to you as your readings. Be able to take time to understand those sub-risks and how it affects the different organization. Let's move on to the next topic. Talk about relational theory in practice. Talk about relational theory. A table is not part of the relational theory, but it is the physical implementation of the relational theory. Relational theory are somehow related to files consisted of records, and records consisted of fields. Over time, collections of files were assembled into databases. A file or record or field distinction survived the migration from files to databases, but was renamed. It became now the table, the row, or column distinction. Hierarchical and network DBMS provided means to navigate these collections of data to find where to insert new data, to find existing data to update or delete, and to find data to assemble into results to be passed back to the user. That navigation is a procedural matter and is specified as an algorithm. Although assisted by some built-in functionality of this early DBMS, that navigation still required programmers to write procedural code. For example, code to initialize a counter, to loop to a specific list, increment the counter, and to determine when to end the loop. This is obviously a highly procedural way to produce a list of records or rows. Let's talk about multi-dimensional databases. The information data store associated with multi-dimensional access is often overshadowed by the robust data access speed and financial calculation capabilities. A multi-dimensional database is a type of database that is optimized for data warehouse and online analytical processing or OLAP applications. Multi-dimensional databases are frequently created using input from existing relational databases, whereas a relational database typically accessed using a structured query language or SQL. A multi-dimensional database allows a user to ask questions like how many laptops have been sold in Bacolod City so far this year. Similar questions related to summarizing business operations and trends. An OLAP application that accesses data from a multi-dimensional database is known as MOLAP or multi-dimensional OLAP application. A multi-dimensional database or a multi-dimensional database management system implies the ability to rapidly process the data in the database so that answers can be generated quickly. Approaches to how data is stored and the user interface vary. Conceptually, a multi-dimensional database uses the idea of a data cube to represent the dimensions of data available to a user. For example, sales could be viewed in the dimensions of product model, geography, time, or some additional dimension. In this case, sales is known as the measure attribute of the data cube, and the other dimensions are seen as feature attributes. Additionally, a database creator can define hierarchies and levels within a dimension. For example, state and city levels within a regional hierarchy. Let's talk about Rdbms. An Rdbms is a DBMS designed specifically for relational databases. Therefore, Rdbms are a subset of DBMS. Relational database refers to a database that stores data in a structured format using rows and columns. Rdbms make it easy to locate and access specific values within the database. It is relational because the values within each table are related to each other. Tables may also be related to other tables. Relational structure makes it possible to run queries across multiple tables at once. While a relational database describes the type of database an Rdbms manages, the Rdbms refers to the database program itself. Is the software that executes queries on the data, including adding, updating, and searching for values. An Rdbms may also provide a visual representation of the data. For example, it may display a data in a tables like a spreadsheet, allowing you to view and even edit individual values in the table. Some Rdbms programs allows you to create forms that can streamline entering, editing, and deleting of data. These are the different examples of our Rdbms platforms. It includes Oracle Database, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and IBM DB2. Some of these programs support non-relational databases, but they are primarily used for relational database management. Examples of non-relational databases include Apache HBase, IBM Domino, and Oracle NoSQL database. Most well-known DBMS applications fall into the Rdbms category.